turned 26 this spring and did what I always do for my birthday, which is pick a restaurant I like on the west side of Bessemer, invite 6 or 7 people, and post the details on my story so anybody who wanted to swing by for a drink could see where I'd be. I've done this every year since I started posting at all. Never thought twice about it. We got there around 7, a table for 8 at a spot off 9th Avenue that does good ribs and stays open late enough for a real celebration. I posted the location tag like always. Restaurant name, 7 o'clock, a photo of the table before the food came out. Normal birthday stuff. About an hour and a half in, a man walked in alone and sat at the bar. I noticed him the way you notice anybody new in a place you're comfortable in. Quick glance, no real thought behind it. 30s maybe, dressed fine, nothing that stood out. The waitress came to take his order. Before she could get a word out, he told her what he wanted, and it was my exact drink. Not close. Exact. The specific liquor, the specific mixer, the specific way I always ask for it light on ice, which isn't how the menu lists it and isn't something a stranger orders by accident. I told myself it was coincidence. People order drinks. It's a limited menu, everybody's ordering off the same 6 or 7 options, and light on ice isn't some secret code. I went back to my table, back to my friends, back to my birthday. He stayed at the bar the whole night. Never approached, never looked over more than you'd naturally glance around a restaurant. By the time we were splitting the check, I'd mostly forgotten about him. 2 weeks later, back at work, one of my coworkers mentioned she'd seen my birthday post and wished she could have stopped by. Then she asked something that made my stomach drop before I even understood why. She asked if the guy from the bar had said anything to me. I asked how she knew about the guy from the bar. She said she'd seen him in one of my story photos, way in the background, and thought he looked familiar, like she'd seen him around before, though she couldn't place where. She said something about it had stuck with her enough that she went back and looked at the photo twice. I told myself that was still explainable. Small city, overlapping circles, somebody who runs in the same space as we do. I went home that night and pulled up my own story archive to look at the photos she meant. He was in 3 of my photos, not just the one at the bar, one from outside, before we'd even gone in, him visible on the sidewalk near the entrance a full 20 minutes before we arrived, like he'd known where to be before the location was even posted. And one more, taken near the end of the night, of him still sitting at the bar, except in that one he was looking directly at the camera, directly at me, not caught by accident, aimed. I checked my privacy settings that night, which I'd genuinely never done before. My story had been fully public the entire time. Location, time, guest photos, all of it visible to anyone, follower or not, who searched my name. I'd been broadcasting my exact location for years, without a second thought, the way you do when nothing's ever gone wrong. I changed everything to close friends only after that. Told the people I actually invite to check with me directly, instead of relying on a public post. I still don't know who he was, whether he found me through the post specifically, or through something else entirely, or whether light on ice was a lucky guess dressed up by my own nerves into something bigger than it was. What I do know is that he was standing outside a restaurant I hadn't arrived at yet, at a time I'd only just posted, and I have no explanation for that, which doesn't start with him seeing exactly what I put out into the world for anybody to see. I still celebrate my birthday every year. I still go out with my people. I just don't tell the internet where to find me anymore. My mother has filmed my birthday every single year since I was born. Same little camcorder she upgraded twice, but always uses the same way. Set up on the counter, cake table in frame, kitchen doorway visible in the background because that's just how our house in Opelika is laid out. 21 years of footage, all stored on a hard drive she guards like it's gold, because to her it is. For my 21st, my cousin talked me into making a highlight reel, cutting together a moment from every birthday since I was 1. I spent a weekend going through all of it, year by year, laughing at my own childhood haircuts and outfits. Somewhere around my 9th or 10th birthday, I noticed something in the kitchen doorway behind the cake table. A shape, mostly in shadow, standing at the edge of the frame. I didn't think much of it. Could have been my uncle, Could have been anybody who'd stepped away from the party for a second. I kept scrubbing through footage, and I started noticing it again. 12th birthday, same doorway, same shape, same shadow stillness. I told myself it was probably the same relative, standing in a spot people naturally stand when the kitchen's the only quiet corner of a crowded house. I went back further out of curiosity, more than anything. 5th birthday, same shape, same doorway. 1st birthday, the earliest footage that exists. And it was there too, in a house we'd only just moved into, before most of the family I knew even had a reason to be standing in that specific kitchen doorway. That's when the boring explanations stopped holding up. A specific relative, present at every party, would still be a person my mother could name if I asked her. So I did. I called her and described exactly where I meant, exactly what year, and asked who normally stood in the kitchen doorway during my birthday parties. She was quiet for a second, then said nobody stood there specifically. That spot's the walkway to the back hall. People pass through it. Nobody just stands in it, because doing so would mean planting yourself in the middle of every single person's path to the bathroom all night. I asked her to look at the footage with me. We sat together and went through year after year, and every single time I paused on that doorway, she got quieter. She said she'd never noticed it before, because she was always the one holding the camera, always looking through the small screen at me and the cake, never really looking past the frame to whatever else was in it. The shape never moves in any of the footage. Not once, across 21 years, does it shift position, turn its head, or do anything a real person standing in a busy doorway would eventually do. Lean against the frame, check a phone, get jostled by somebody passing through. It just stands. I asked my mother if anyone in the family had passed before I was born, someone connected to that house or that kitchen specifically. She said the house had belonged to her grandmother before us, and that her grandmother had passed in that kitchen years before my mother was even born, a fact she mentioned to me once as a kid, and that I'd fully forgotten until she said it again. I don't know if that's the explanation or just a detail that makes the shape easier to sit with. What I know is I've watched 21 years of birthday footage now, and there's a shadow in the doorway of every single one of them, standing exactly where nobody in my family ever stands. I finished the highlight reel. I left the doorway shots in. My mother asked me not to, and I understood why, but something about cutting them out felt like pretending we hadn't both seen the same thing 21 times, going back further than either of us have any memory of. We still film every birthday the same way. Same camera, same table, same kitchen visible behind me. I don't look at that doorway anymore while it's happening. I just make sure the camera's running, and I let whoever's back there keep doing whatever it is they've been doing since before I could walk. My family's from Chester, Pennsylvania, and we've got more traditions than I could list. But the one that stuck with me longest is the chair. There's a specific wooden chair, high-backed, older than anybody currently living in the family, that used to belong to my great-grandmother. It sits at every birthday party we've ever had, pulled up to the head of the table, whether the birthday person is turning 5 or 50. And every single time, before anybody else gets served, the first slice of cake goes on a plate and gets set on that chair. I grew up thinking this was just a sweet, slightly odd family custom, the kind every family has some version of. Empty chair, plate of cake, nobody questioning it because it's always been that way. My great-grandmother passed when I was young enough that I don't fully remember her, but I remember the chair being part of every birthday for as long as I can recall. This year, turning 30, I finally asked my aunt straight out why we still did it. She's the oldest of my mother's siblings, keeper of most of the family stories, and I figured if anybody had a real answer, it'd be her. She got quiet in a way that told me this wasn't going to be the sweet, simple answer I expected. She said the tradition started properly, not as something optional, but as something nobody in the family skips. Because of one birthday, back when my aunt herself was young, the year after my great-grandmother passed. That first birthday after, the family was still adjusting, still figuring out how to do these gatherings without her, and somebody suggested skipping the chair that year. It felt strange, they said, setting a plate for somebody who wasn't there to eat it. So they didn't. No chair pulled out, No plate set aside. Just the family, gathered normally. Cake served straight to everybody at the table. My aunt said that birthday was the worst one the family has ever had. Not because of any one dramatic thing, she was careful to say. Nobody got hurt, nothing anybody could point to and call proof. But the whole night felt wrong in a way she still struggles to describe. The cake, she said, tasted off to everyone who ate it. A sourness nobody could explain since it came from the same bakery they always used. The lights in the dining room flickered on and off throughout dinner, bad enough that my uncle checked the breaker twice and found nothing wrong. And every single photo taken that night, when they got them developed later, came back overexposed, washed out, faces barely visible, in a way the same camera had never done before or since. Nobody said, "We should bring the chair back," out loud that night. But at the very next birthday, a few months later, somebody quietly pulled the chair up to the table without discussion, set the first slice on it before anyone else, and that was that. Nobody skipped it since. I asked my aunt if she thought it was really about the chair, or if that first bad birthday was just an unlucky night that got a story built around it after the fact. She said she used to think that too, when she was younger, before she got old enough to stop needing everything to have a tidy explanation. She said the family had been through plenty of unlucky nights over the years, bad weather, sick relatives, real arguments, and none of them ever felt like that one particular birthday did. She said there was a difference between a night going wrong and a night feeling like something was owed and hadn't been paid. I still don't fully know what to make of it. I know the chair's going to be at my birthday again this year. Pulled up to the head of the table, plate set before anybody touches the cake, same as it's been for as long as I've been alive, and for years before that, which I only know through my aunt's telling. I've never once been the person to suggest skipping it. I don't plan to be.